I want to go out to the audience now and take questions. Who's got a question? Okay. So the question is however you define the size of the location-based market, who's making the most margin on it right now? Who's making the most profit? And in the future, 3 years out, is it the same companies or is it a different set of companies? Who wants to start with that?
This answer could be completely wrong to other people, but from what I see, from what we see at Digital Element, I think right now the biggest margin in location-based marketing has to be the advertising. I'm not sure that it's necessarily going to change who's going to be making more money in the future, but I think the platform is going to change. Right now there's a big shift from, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. There's a big shift from online to mobile. I am predicting that a lot of that money is going to shift from online to mobile, and then some of it's actually going to shift back because people are going to realize that no matter what, I'm probably still going to be doing different search items, doing research. I'm still going to use my desktop and my laptop. I won't ever use my mobile device for everything that I do. So I think that they both hold a certain space, and that's my prediction.
I have a bit of a contrarian view. I actually think that those who have brick and mortars are actually going to be the ones that get the most advantage and the most revenue off of this. The reason I say that is because if you look at who needs to leverage the location the most, I think retailers are in a great position to do that. You look at what's happening with the Bluetooth low energy Bluetooth devices that are starting to be tinkered with by Macy's and by some other retailers. They're actually able to provide more discovery of content and an ability to find out ratings and reviews without having to open up, peck and find stuff within an app. I mean, you're actually just able to passively get that information. You tie that to the loyalty program so that we have it running on the back end. It's not sucking your battery. So now you have something that, and the retailers are thinking about a holistic solution. They still have a hell of a long way to go, but I think retailers are in a better position to think holistically. Going back to something I said earlier, a lot of the location solutions that are out there are point-based solutions. It's only thinking about one particular moment in time, but people don't really operate like that. They pick up experiences where they left off somewhere else. And I think retailers are starting to understand that this is how they need to create the experiences. So they have the most incentive to leverage the location to make that part of the glue.
I agree. I think that's exactly right. I think that at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is driving a conversion, right? And there will be people that will make some money off of that on the front end, but the ones that really, benefit the most are going to be the retailers.
Yeah,
as long as they do it right.
And I'll answer that too. So I agree with retail right now. I mean, we have a lot of retail members, and we see massive investments in low energy Bluetooth and beacon technology. Everybody is doing this stuff right now. So if you're a beacon company, now's a good time to be in business. I would say, to answer the second part though, for the future, for me, it's quite different. It's the car companies I was talking about earlier. It's the wearable companies, and it's the carriers and the credit card processing companies, the payment side. Once we get into that, we're not there yet, right? But I think that's going to be. I mean, when you see iPhone 6 come out and you see a full iTunes payment platform that you can buy anything and pay for it with your iTunes account, that's going to change everything, right? Because it's not like we have to go out and convince people to go and get a new mobile wallet. How many people have an iTunes account here? Right? You already have a mobile wallet, right? So that's the future.
I just want to comment on that, though. The one thing I feel like on one side with the auto trader point of view, there's going to be a lot of that with the retailer, because it makes sense, because I'm going to share my location when I'm shopping for a car. I want, those ads pushed to me. I want to be able to be located when I'm out going dealer by dealer, and I want to find the best deal and then go in and interact. I don't think that as a consumer I will ever be walking around a supermarket with my mobile device using Bluetooth, or iBeacons or anything, because that's not the way that I shop, and that just sounds even more chaotic than an average trip to the supermarket.
But let me push back on you, because I think you're passively doing this. That's the difference, is you don't really have to do anything. You're not opening up the app per se. And the display for the information, it could be, you're going to see grocery carts that have a digital interface on.
If it makes
top
my
of
life easier, count me in.
Well, and I think that's what's going to happen.
That's what they have to figure out.
We got another question in the back here. So the question is, how concerned are we about legislation and some of the policies in the government, practices around controlling sharing of location data and IP? Is that using of it? Okay.
So that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier, is that there's this emergent thing of capabilities where people start to have more control. You're having breaches like what you had at Target. Those things are not trivial. Those things are not things that are not important. Those are the kind of things that create that type of legislation. I think that the challenge for companies that are acquiring consumer data is, what are they going to do with it, right? I mean, every company here acquires massive amounts of data. We acquire massive amounts of data. Figuring out what to do with it, first of all, is like understanding what you have, and then what to do with it, and then how to go execute against that becomes a problem. And you realize that if you just cross the line one time, you could end your entire business. So I think there'll be some natural self-regulation because of that. And then you're going to see more people wanting to have more control, and then you'll have the oversight and those kinds of things. But there's definitely a whole business behind the scenes of sharing data within companies that's going on right now to enrich data sets and figure out, how do we build out better algorithms to better provide information for personalization for people. We talked about American Express and Foursquare. Those are some examples. But those are to me, they're not mainstream yet. That's going to come, but it's going to take some time. And I think there's a lot of people that are afraid to just go all in onto that and expose themselves to that kind of risk.
Yeah, I mean, as the industry association, obviously we're involved in helping craft some of that legislation. We work with the FTC and many groups around the world. There will be a do not locate list, just like we have a do not call list. We're in looking at that right now. We expect that maybe projections are 3% of the population will put their name on such a list. So from a marketer's perspective, it's negligible, that kind of thing. We saw the Nordstrom, Euclid Analytics nightmare, around indoor tracking, where they didn't tell people that they were being tracked, and then Senator Schumer decided to make a big issue of it. And that's led to what's now called the Future of Privacy Forum, which is setting standards for retailers around proper consent and telling people that they are being tracked in the stores, and they can opt out if they choose to. So I think some of this stuff is really good that's coming out, and but I don't think it's going to be punitive, like really, in terms of preventing marketers from doing what they got to do. The question was, when you look at the 35% of people who I said earlier were sharing location, what is the demographics of those people in terms of age breakdown? And so when we looked at the data last year, what we're seeing is it's typically in the 25 to 40 bracket. It's not under 25. I mean, they're certainly there, but the density of it is in that 25 to 40. And we're actually seeing it skew higher now. Older folks are starting to embrace some of this technology. And depends on the campaign. I could talk to you offline about strategies to do that, to drive seniors to use these platforms. We've seen some good success with that too.
I also think so if you look at, it's kind of an oxymoron, but for the millennials, they don't have any inhibition sharing stuff. At the same time, they don't trust anybody. They don't trust government. They don't trust corporations. They're lucky if they trust their own parents. And with the Generation Z, who are the kids under 14, they are digital natives, so they have no other understanding of it. I think what you're going to start seeing is, and I wish government would do this, but sunset of data. So in other words, instead of just having this open spigot and it goes on forever, you're actually going to be able to sunset. After 6 months, your data is automatically expunged, or something like that. And I think it's not going to be legislated. I think this is going to be something that comes out. Some innovative company is going to come out and say, look, I will guarantee that you're going to have a Snapchat type experience, and your data is going to be wiped after 6 months. or 3 months or something like that. So that way you don't have a paper trail anymore. That's where things are, I think, are going to end up going.
Was when we did the project with the bus and the Oreo screen campaign, did we look at the demographics of where the people came from, like where they live, or just where they were at the point in time? And the answer is just the point in time.
One of the things we had planned as part of the forum early on is to work with other associations as part of our programming. And what you just evidenced is what we've done with the Location-Based Marketing Association. You probably see more of this. Our next event is a very interesting one. GSMA will be here talking about an update and a recap from Barcelona, the Mobile World Congress this year. Dan Norman, Dan, there's Dan at the back. He'll be one of the speakers along with Reed Peterson and Dave Bailey and another gentleman, and talk about some of the key trends as well they'll share with us. And that should be interesting. I do want to go back and thank the sponsors. It is important that they continue our continued support, Encode, Ericsson, AT&T, and event sponsor, Stone Resource Group. We've got an active board, and please stay involved any which way you can. And we appreciate your support and your time today. Thank you.